Formed in 1921, the Royal Australian Air Force, or RAAF, is one of the oldest air forces still going around. If you were paying attention to that date and doing the maths, you might have realised that the RAAF had a centenary last year in 2021. Also, something you might need to bear in mind is air forces tend to be fairly tech heavy. We tend to be quite gear oriented. There's an old adage that the army equips the man and an air force mans the equipment. And there's more than a grain of truth to that. So combine the centenary and our natural gear headiness, and it's likely that an air force hitting 100 years is going to release some pretty cool swag. One day I'm going to sit down with Nick and get the full story of how he came up with the idea, how he got this working with IWC and saw it to the end. Unfortunately, I haven't done that, so I can't really talk about that now. However, I can give you some insight into the broad history that has led to this watch. Back in the 1950s, the RAAF started the process of purchasing Mark XI Pilots Watches from a number of companies, including JLC and IWC. The RAAF followed along with that same acquisition process. In its time buying over 1,600 Mark XIs, that ended up with an order in 1957 for 600 IWC Mark XIs in 1957. Those wristwatches were issued to aircraft captains, first pilots, navigators, under a standard military stores reference of G6B/346. Copies of those old issued IWCs are incredibly collectible, very sought after, very hard to find, and if you do find one, very expensive. Therefore, the recreation of something all new is really welcome. Given IWC's history generally with aviation, given their specific history with the Air Force, and also their ongoing commitment to pilots' watches, some kind of tie-up between IWC and the RAAF for their centenary makes total sense. Added to that, having this watch pulled from IWC by current RAAF aircrew adds an emotional and aesthetic weight to this watch that gives it some gravitas that perhaps other watches mightn't have in this circumstance. So some essential facts about the watch. It's called the IWC Pilots Watch Automatic RAAF. This is generally part of the Mark family, like the Mark 18, but a bit of a spin on that and definitely a one-off. The reference number is IW328102. Comes in a ceramic case with titanium crown, case back, and a sapphire crystal. The watch is 41mm across, 49mm lug to lug, just 11.4mm thick, and comes with a very modern and confidence-building 10-bar water resistance. Also has IWC's low pressure protection, so you won't blow the crystal in case of a rapid decompression. And finally, the whole thing's fitted with a soft inner iron case, increasing its resistance to magnetic fields. The watch is fitted with the IWC manufacture caliber 32-110. The basic architecture of that movement is drawn from the old ETA 2892, but it's been subject to a host of upgrades, including the inclusion of a silicon escape wheel and pallet levers. The end result of all of those improvements is better accuracy, greater resistance to magnetic fields, pushing the power reserve out to 72 hours, all the while maintaining the nice smooth sweep of a 4 Hz movement. The watch has a strong blue dial with a very faint sunburst, nicely complementing the black ceramic case. The dial itself has a Flieger Type A style layout with stark white lume and hands. Those hands, by the way, are the same as used on the original 1950 Mark XIs in service with the RAAF. And the whole watch is held to your wrist with a rubber strap that comes with a textile inlay and all titanium hardware. Another thing I should point out is when you order this watch, you can get it with special engraving on the back with your name or call sign. So that's the harsh description of what it is. What do I think of it? I think this is a timepiece that beautifully integrates the design cues from the past with the horological advances of the present. The overall design with the dial's minimalism, the hand choices, that soft iron inner case, all reflects that original 346 that was issued to RAAF personnel back in the 50s. The ceramic case, the titanium crown and case back, the movement with a full 3 hours power reserve, the use of a date, the midnight blue dial, that little red tip of the second hand, and the use of the contemporary IWC logo all bring the past to today. Now, these Mark series watches are classics. This Flieger style is super popular for a reason. But on the other hand, this style is very fundamental. It's very elemental. To stand out, to rise above the crowd requires something special. IWC always does that by bringing an attention to detail in the design and construction that almost no one else matches. It doesn't come through in images, but in the hand, there's always something special about an IWC watch. But here, there's something even more. But here there's more, because what you get is a blend of new and old, which is unique, it's on point, it's really smart, it's well considered, and all in all, it just works great. The colors, the hand choices, the materials all play really nicely in blending the history of IWC and pilots watches and the RAAF with the current realities of what we are and what we are trying to be. But there's actually even more in it for me. In this watch, there's heart, there's feeling. There's people like me that have asked for this watch to be made, and there's people like me that have made this watch. So at that point, I suppose I have to ask your forgiveness and your understanding for why I'm going to do the thing that you all tell me you hate in watch critiques. And that is be overwhelmingly positive and not have any negativity. Because the thing is, I can't find anything wrong with this watch, but it shouldn't come as a surprise since, as I said, it was made by people like me for people like me. This is a niche watch for a niche audience. There's one last thing I really have to address with this watch, and that is connected to this idea of its niche audience. Because you see, you can only order this watch if you are a current or you are a former serving member of the Royal Australian Air Force. To order it, you have to get in contact with an officer within the Royal Australian Air Force. They will vet you, check your service, and then they will pass your credentials to IWC. So if you're interested in buying this watch and you think the fact that it's not available is a negative, I totally understand where you're coming from. And if I was in your position, I'd be saying the same thing. So really, that's it. That's my critique of the IWC Pilots Watch Automatic RAAF edition. Hope you enjoyed it. I've been Pete McConville. This has been Not So Obvious Watches. Do all the normal like and subscribe stuff. That would be brilliant. I will see you later. Bye.